Arthur lived in a city with his wife, Juliana. They had one son named John, who was in 6th grade. Even though he was their only child, he was never spoiled. John was a polite and sensible boy who always listened to his parents. Arthur always took special care of him and liked to plan fun activities for Sundays. John would eagerly wait for that day every week. Arthur and Juliana loved their son deeply. John truly meant everything to them. One evening, Arthur and John were sitting in the lounge. Juliana came in with tea and snacks. John's eyes lit up when he saw the cream rolls.
Oh, Mom. Thanks.
He took a big bite and smiled. Just then, Arthur asked,
John, where do you want to go this Sunday?
John thought for a moment and said,
Dad, let's go to an amusement park.
Arthur smiled.
Done. We'll go.
Suddenly, the phone rang. Arthur picked it up.
Hello?
John quietly sipped his tea. A moment later, Arthur's face changed.
What? Johnson, my brother? Oh, God.
John looked at Juliana worriedly. Juliana looked at Arthur, her voice shaking.
Arthur, what happened?
Arthur slowly put the phone down. Tears filled his eyes.
Johnson, my brother, and Emma passed away in a road accident. Mike, their son, is all alone.
John and Juliana were shocked. Their hearts sank. Juliana gently placed her hand on Arthur's shoulder. Arthur took a deep breath and said,
We have to go. I'm calling a cab.
Soon, they left for the village. After a few hours, they reached the village. Arthur and Juliana got out of the car. John was right beside them. They quickly went inside the house. As soon as Mike saw Arthur, he ran forward and shouted,
Uncle!
He broke down and hugged Arthur tightly. Tears were flowing from his eyes. Arthur gently patted his back and wiped his tears.
Don't cry, my son.
The next day, after the funeral, Arthur spoke to Mike.
You'll live with us now.
Mike nodded silently, wiping his tears. They returned home with Mike. The next morning, they were having breakfast. Juliana served food on the table. John handed Mike a plate of boiled eggs. Mike hesitated for a moment, then smiled a little.
No, thanks.
Arthur looked at him and said,
Eggs are good for you. Eat this and finish your milk.
Juliana said softly,
Eat something, Mike. Don't stay hungry.
Mike hesitated for a moment, then picked up an egg and started eating. Arthur then said,
Mike, I will admit you to John's school. We will go tomorrow for admission.
Mike nodded slowly.
Okay, Uncle.
One evening, Arthur brought 2 shirts and placed them on the table, one pink and one blue. Arthur looked at Mike and asked,
Which one do you want?
Mike pointed at the pink shirt and said,
This one, Uncle. Pink color is my all-time favorite.
John liked the pink shirt too, but he stayed silent. Arthur looked at John and said,
Take the blue one. It will suit you better.
John's face fell a little, but he nodded slowly. Days passed. Arthur still made plans for Sundays. But now he did what Mike wanted. At first, John didn't mind. But slowly, he started feeling that he was not as important as before. It felt like Mike was more important now. One afternoon after returning from school, John and Mike were having lunch with Juliana. John said excitedly,
Mom, this Sunday we will go to a book exhibition. I want to buy storybooks and books about space.
Juliana smiled.
That's good.
Mike also said happily,
But I want to go to the zoo. I'm sure Uncle won't refuse me.
John quietly took a salad on his plate. In his mind, he thought,
If Dad refuses me.
That evening, Arthur was sitting with Mike and John. Juliana was also there. Arthur smiled and asked,
So, what should we do this Sunday?
Before John could speak, Mike said excitedly,
Uncle, I want to go to the zoo.
Arthur nodded.
All right. This Sunday we'll go to the zoo.
He then looked at John.
Okay, John?
John gave a small nod but said nothing. Soon Sunday came. Mike was ready and waiting. John came out of his room quietly. Arthur smiled.
Okay, let's go.
John looked at him and said,
Dad, I'm going to meet my friend. I can't come with you.
Arthur was surprised, but he forced a smile.
Okay.
John walked toward the door. Arthur looked at Juliana and said softly,
What's wrong with him?
Juliana shrugged, but she knew what the matter was. That night, Arthur went into John's room. He sat on the bed and said,
John, why didn't you come with us? Mike felt bored at the zoo.
John looked down and stayed quiet for a moment. Then he spoke softly.
Dad, you always used to make plans for me. But now it feels like everything is for Mike. Sometimes I feel like I'm not important anymore.
Arthur looked at him gently and said,
John, you're my son. You will always matter to me. But Mike has no parents now. If I don't take care of him, he'll feel alone. You don't want that, right?
John's eyes filled with tears.
I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't think like that.
Mike, who was passing by John's room, heard everything. He wiped his eyes and walked to his room. On Saturday evening, Arthur came home. He went into the kitchen. Juliana was cleaning the shelves. He smiled and said,
May I have some tea?
She smiled softly.
Go sit in the lounge. I'll bring tea and your favorite sandwich.
Arthur nodded.
Thanks.
He went to the lounge. After a while, John and Mike also came from the study room. Juliana served tea and sandwiches. Arthur took a sip and smiled.
So, Mike, what's your plan for Sunday?
Mike held his sandwich and looked down. His voice shook.
Uncle, you should ask John. He's your son.
Everyone became quiet. Mike's eyes filled with tears.
If my dad were alive, he would ask me like that.
He looked at John and tried to smile.
John, tell Uncle.
Arthur and Juliana exchanged a shocked look. John froze. Arthur immediately went to Mike and sat beside him. He gently held his shoulder.
Mike, what are you saying? You are my son too.
Juliana came closer and said softly,
Do you feel we love you less?
Mike quickly shook his head.
No, Aunt, not like that.
John came closer, held Mike's hand, and said,
We won't go anywhere until you tell us what you want. And I know you like the zoo, so we'll go there. That's it.
Arthur smiled and nodded.
Yes.
Mike wiped his eyes and smiled a little. Suddenly, John said,
Dad, this time Tom will come with us too.
Mike nodded.
Of course.
Arthur joked.
Oh, Juliana. My purse.
Juliana shrugged with a smile.
I'm with my kids.
They all laughed together. Moral: love grows when everyone is included.